I'm here till Thursday. Thanks for the claps. Thanks, everyone. We've got an audience. Love audience.
So, cool.
All right. Welcome to Wealth Cartel Legends, where we talk about how hindsight is a motherfucker.
Our mission, guys, is to stop people saying, I wish I had listened, and to help people to capitalise on everyone else's mistakes before making them yourself.
Yeah, in summary, our tagline says it all. Turn our hindsight into your foresight so you don't have to make the same mistakes that we did.
This is our first one, guys. Bear with us. We'll get better as we go.
Chop it up with us while we fucking get good at it.
Cheers. That's a $20 fucking glass of scotch because they wouldn't let us have a shot.
And he's still whinging. Right, so who are we?
My name's Dan, better known as Acko. And there's me mate over there.
Where?
Press
the laugh one.
My associate. What are we doing?
Blooper roll.
Today?
Yeah.
This is just a blooper roll?
No, I'm just kidding.
We'll see how it goes. We'll pick and choose what we show you today because we are getting newbies. And to be honest, if we show you the whole hour, you're probably not going to fucking listen. So,
I'm Ryan. My mates and family know me as Buckwit, but I know me as Kingy. So Ryan or Kingy, and that's Dan or Acko over there.
Pretty much, guys. What we're trying to do here is actually I'll get into this first. I do apologise. So my name's Dan. A lot of people. I'm from out west. A lot of people would know me from the beautiful suburb of Seven Hills. Closely situated next to Blacktown Waters, and then the next suburb over is Toongabbie Heights. So I grew up in a real good area from lots of money. Look, I grew up, with not too much wealth around me. There were people that were doing okay, but there was never really that shining star, and sort of for me, that's why I strive and try and make better for my kids. I don't feel like making excuses is part of how I grew up. So for me, the whole reason behind what I do and why I do it is because no one else did it before me. So that's a big thing for me.
Yeah, I think that's a common trait we have, so because I'm Kingy, I'm boy from the west and the beach, the west on the beach. So I grew up in majority up in Yamina, Mount Druitt on the beach, and split between the parents who the old boy born and raised Mount Druitt out at Emerton. So from a very young age, I was catching those hefty train lines from Woy Woy down to Mount Druitt. That'll make or break us, that one. But so I might have been from the beach, but we've definitely got that westiness, and family I still operate out west and family out there, but also on the coast as well, where a lot of lads will know. Shout out to the coast. Shout out to H.E. Does It from up at the 2-2.
Bro, you can't just start shouting out rappers.
I can, 100%.
I'll have to start shouting out everyone from 7 Hills that ever wrote a poem.
Right. Yeah, but this is we're upcomers. So guys, we're just starting here. We're just some lads that neither of us came from much money. Neither of us really grew up with a lot. And genetics is the hardest thing to break. And coming from how we came up, we make a lot of mistakes. And how many people told you? How many people told us the things and we were too smart, too good for. And now, not all of it was right. We've done some things ourselves that have made well, and we've done well for ourselves. But you look back and you go, shit, I could have cut through some fat if I'd listened to a few people. And we're here to provide the perspective along with our guests on the things you should listen to. It's not all right. Our parents didn't do, it's hard to listen to people who aren't where you want to be, but we're here to put it from that perspective in what the things you should have listened to from people who you should be looking up to and what we can do from that way.
I think at the same time as well, something I've realised as well is even if they are where you want to be, if they're that person close to you, you're not going to listen.
Yeah,
so sure. even if they are a baller, even if they are, doing well and they're telling you, mate, listen to your mum, listen to this, listen to that. If they're that close person to you, your ear's closed. You just don't want a bar of anyone telling you what to do because you feel like that's what they're doing is telling you what to do.
Well, it's like, bro, you got kids and I don't have kids yet, but I grew up, I'm the oldest of 6 or 5, whatever it is, and by a fair bit. And it's the same thing, bro. Like you can't teach your own kid how to swim or how to run. You know what I mean? Like you pay someone else to because they don't listen to you.
Well, it's hard, bro, because you want to be that person. Like, it's funny actually you mentioned that. So I took my little girl. I got 3 kids. I got 2 step kids, and then my young bloke. But they're all of those kids are my kids in my eyes. And I took my little girl down the park. She wanted to learn how to ride without trainer wheels. And for about 40 minutes, I nearly pulled my hair out because she wouldn't listen. My old lady pushed her once. She rode the whole way from Schofield's Park.
Fucking case in point.
So it's pretty much, it's actually pretty good. She didn't want to listen to me. She didn't want to do anything with me. She wanted to be scared. She wanted me to pick her up and not let her fall. Whereas someone else come along and said, go, and she went for it and listened. And that's, a lot to what I think we're trying to push and trying to force is that, we've been there.
Well, what to listen to as well, because you get a lot of shit advice over the years, you get a lot of shit. And I think there's more shit than good, so you stop listening to a lot of the stuff. So we're here to pinpoint the stuff that the gold nuggets, you know what I mean? I think, Acko, we might get in telling the people what we do now, who we are, like we've told them who we are, but what do we do now? Where are we?
So, my name, I've said your name.
Oh, we heard. He likes to sound his own voice, this bloke.
No. So I'm a plasterer by trade. I worked for myself for quite a few years. Had a pretty good crew working for me as well. But now I've sort of moved over. I actually went into entrepreneurship a couple of years ago. I don't actually like calling it that because I feel like it sounds like a stuck-up name, but ultimately that's what it is. I got sick of chasing cash and being in a trade and feeling like I was getting out of bed for no money. And at the end of the day, it didn't matter whether you were owed 100 or you owed 100. You just had nothing in your pocket and it was always coming or it was always going out to someone else. And I just got to the stage where I was like, oh, fuck this. I can't do this anymore. I can't get out of bed for it. So to be honest, I was earning a good coin. I was turning 500. The business was turning 500. But I went and worked for Boral. Like I went to work for Boral Plasterboard. I thought this is my goal. I was New South Wales contract manager. Had a pretty good gig. Was on good coin, but I was about I think I was there 9 months or something like that, and I couldn't do it. I can't work for someone else, man. I just can't do the day-to-day ins and outs. If I'm going to work 12 hours, 14 hours, 16-hour days, it's got to be for me and benefit my family. And I'm that type of person where that suits me. But to be fair and to be honest, I saved more cash out of $85K a year working for Boral than I did out of $500,000 a year working for myself. And when that all comes to fruition, and I realized that was when my mind and my life changed and the way I thought about money changed. And I thought, you know what, I can make something of myself here because out of $85K I managed to save.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was doing before. That was the changer for me, but I couldn't go back working to someone.
Yeah, I think we're a perfect match. So I'll tell everyone a bit about myself in a sec, but I think perfect example. I always say to my clients, there's two types of workers, right? There's the worker who works their passion and their job is their passion, right? But then you got people who, I don't think that's me, or my job is my passion. My biggest problem is I do it for free. I think you love what you do, but you do what you do because you're good at it, and it supports your passion, which is your family and hanging out. You know what I mean? So I think it's good to everyone with your Gary V's and everyone's out there trying to chase this, do what you love. But some things you love you can't get paid for, or very well.
Yeah, I agree. See, I sort of spun that on its head a little bit. So for me, I never enjoyed plastering. I was good at it, very good. I got taught by the best, I believe the best, in New South Wales by a mile. I was sort of his offsider, his right-hand man, and I looked up to him a lot when I was a kid. I never really had too many people to look up to in regards to that sense, and he was a big part of where I got to now. And I spoke to him last night on the phone. He'd had a few beers, and he was hammering me, actually. But, look, I agree. I hated it. I hated plastering, but that's why I didn't go to work Monday. It's simple, bro.
That's why, was it?
I partied. Yeah, well, that was a big reason as to why.
As a byproduct.
I partied. I partied Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I had. This is a dead set true story to you asking. I had the sunstroke in the middle of winter. I was at Cook one day. I made up a story that I had sunstroke in the middle of winter and I had drips on me. I was in hospital. It was winter. I didn't realise it was winter during that. That's a true story. That's how
long you've been partying for.
But
in summer.
No, look, I hated my job. What I've done now, and this is, the honest truth, and there's no reason for me to pussyfoot around it, is I enjoy running businesses. My passion is to run a business. It doesn't matter what it is. For me, in my personal opinion, I couldn't give a shit whether you give me, don't get me wrong, it's got to be a good one, and I've got to believe in the model because that's what makes it a good, successful business. Mm. But you could give me an inflatable world, an art business like Pino Picasso, which is, what we've delved into of late. And I believe with a good mindset, I could make any of those work. And that's the positive part of me. And that's why I feel like I am where I am.
And I think it's important to understand that the reason you like that is because your purpose, you know what your purpose is. Let's be real at the end of the day, no one goes into business to be broke. And the number one thing people want from life, no matter what they say it is, at the end of the day, it's more time, right? It is more time. And you're good at what you do and you do what you do to provide you and your family more time. At the end of the day, what you're working towards and what you're good at is eventually you won't have to work to earn money, right?
Well, yeah, that's the aim.
That's the aim.
That's the aim ultimately, but it never was the aim before we'd met. So, Ryan's my financial advisor.
Still with on that.
No, but it wasn't. It wasn't. My aim was, I always thought, I grew up in the West, bro. I always thought, my whole life, I thought I'd work till I was 65.
You thought money was the goal,
I thought I'd be broke. I thought I worked my whole ass off to afford to live in a house to pay off. And then when I got to 65, fuck knows how I'd make money after that. I was always told when I was young, my nan used to tell me, mum used to tell me the pension's not going to be around forever. It was something that was spoken about quite often between us. My dad had the pension and my mum had the pension and stuff like that. And they were like, don't rely on the pension. I was like, fuck that. I need to make my own cash. But I always thought, because I was a spender, man, I'm a big spender. I always was.
My favorite kind of people.
So with me, I could make money. I could go to work. I could make money. I could flip money on a tent on a weekend. I could do, 2, 3 grand, 4 grand on a weekend on a cash job. If I paid tax.
All the taxes. We paid all the taxes
through GSTs. I registered my cash jobs for GST. No, but look, I that's how I felt, bro. Like, I felt like even if I earned 90K, I'd spend it. And my mindset was like, well, you're just going to be like this forever. You're going to get to 60, 65, and then fuck knows what you'll do. You'll figure it out. That's what I thought. I never had a plan or a goal or anything like that. So that sort of changed in the last couple of years.
This guy.
Yeah, that's changed the last couple of years. But I like I said, getting back to the point, I hated plastering. I don't hate running business. I don't hate waking up knowing that there's light at the end of the tunnel every day. And right now, although I've got goals set and I've got a path where I'm going, I ultimately don't know where success leads. I don't know where there's an end goal. And before, for me, there was always there's an end. Like, I use this example because
I think that's wrong. I think that's incorrect. I think from what we've worked on, it's actually the opposite. You don't have a ceiling, but you know what your goal is.
No, I don't.
You know what the goal you're working towards is, which is put the baseline down. But now, because that looks so achievable, you don't have a ceiling anymore.
Well, that goal will always change. And like for me, like the final goal of what I want to achieve to where I want to live my life is great. But the goal of like the success,
the ceiling. You don't know what the ceiling is anymore. That's what I'm saying. Because, and the reason is this, guys, it happens all the time, is when we got together, everyone thinks they need more money than they do, and they chase heaps of it. When we sat down and talk about how much you actually needed to do what you thought was your dream life, it was easy. And so then what you thought was the end goal became the worst case scenario. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing.
So now your ceiling is fucking gone.
It was heaps more achievable once it was broken down. I'd never broken anything down. I think, that's the big thing for me.
Make enough money and we'll figure it out later. But it doesn't need to be that way, man, Yeah. All right, well, let's get back on track because you are the first guest today, and we've just introed you that way. So quickly, I am a financial advisor. I run a business called Three Kings Wealth Management, which Acko is a client and become a friend from. We're a bit different, we're a bit edgy. We don't want to be like these crusty old bastards that just charge you an arm and a leg and do things that you can't do. We're not like that. We're all about making sure you balance tomorrow, having enough for tomorrow but enjoying today because tomorrow's not promised. And, trying to achieve your goals with lowest risk and highest efficiency possible. We'll get into that into my episode. So go on to about the podcast a bit. So Wealth Cartel, I know wealth, targets people money, but we've come up with our own little idea of wealth, which we call the Wealth Triangle, which this whole podcast is going to focus around money, health, and living or lifestyle, which we believe creates happiness, and that's what the true definition of wealth is. So that's what the Wealth Cartel is to have the definition of cartel is having a good product on a monopolization, a good product that no one else can use. That's what we're going to do. We want to build this triangle around happiness and sort of go from there. And we'll kick off with ourselves as the guest originally. And today, Acko is going to be the first one. So he's introed pretty much his whole podcast straight away anyway, so it doesn't matter. But we'll get into this a bit depth in there and start finding out some questions there.
Cool.
All right, so we know who you are and where you're from. Where are you at now? What are you doing now? Are you still in the West?
Yeah, I'm still out West. So I'm a bit more hills now. I've sort of got out of the West a little bit.
The rich West.
I've been trying for years to get up and get out of Sydney, to be honest, and I just keep getting dragged back here every time I'm getting out. I just seem to lock myself back into Sydney for a couple of years.
It's home.
Yeah, it just happens, bro. It's just the way it is. I think I'll eventually get out of here, but for now, for at least
unless it's a Bali, you ain't going nowhere.
For the next 5 to 6 years, man, I'm locked in. I've with this new sort of deal of what we've got going on, I can't really leave at the moment. I've got a bit going
So
on.
Acko's been sentenced to 5 to 6 in Sydney.
5 to 6 in Rouse Hill, Withers Road. Come see me. Make sure you're right. So that's where I'm at. That's ultimately where I am now. Though I'm based in Sydney. Got through a couple of hard years in business. I sort of had ups and downs and waves and learned a lot. And I'm not going to go into it. I might later on in the series, depending on how things go. And
I think that's important to cover too. Is that this podcast, we're not here to rattle no cunt. We're not here to roll and shit. But we're going to be pretty upfront and honest. If you don't like it, you don't like it. We don't really care. We are who we are. We attract the same people that we are, and where we've come from, what we've done to get to where we are is what it is. But if you don't like it, don't watch it. But we're not gonna go too far in. But we are gonna be pretty transparent and honest and pretty brutal and forward. So cop it on the chin, sweet.
Yeah, bro. So like I've owned in business now since my first business I opened, my first proprietary limited business I opened. I was 18. I was three or 4 months outside of 18. I had no idea what proprietary limited meant.
I'm getting blind, bro, I swear.
I had no idea what proprietary limited meant. I wasn't registered for GST. I don't know why I was proprietary limited, to be honest. I just knew that if it said PTY LTD after it, you were better than a normal fucking contractor.
Oi, Carter, when you watch this, lucky you know this kid now.
That's the honest truth, man. I was proprietary limited from 18. I had no fucking idea what I was doing. Even as a proprietary limited business, I was contracting under another ABN to a mate because I just had no idea what the fuck I was doing.
It was all about paying less tax then, you know what I mean? That's what we got told was the best.
So, yeah, no.
Idiot. I want to pay no tax but claim heaps of tax. How do I do it?
But in the last 6 weeks, 8 weeks, where I am right now, man, I'm just broken a large multi-deal with a company I really believe in.
I should be hitting that.
No, look, I broke a large multi-deal. Last November, B and I bought a franchise from Penn Picasso. We bought up in Terrigal. We knew the demographic up there. Obviously, we'd owned a business previous up there, and that business gave us a bit of insight into the way Terrigal worked. We knew it was the heart of the Central Coast, so we made a choice to go up there against some advisement from other people that had half a brain. They were sort of telling us they didn't think it would work, and we took a risk.
Everything works on the coast.
Well, yeah, in Terrigal. In Terrigal. Not everything on the coast works.
Terrigal is the coast.
Terrigal is the key to the coast, bro. So we went up there. We had a really good opening, a really good start. And even through COVID, we've managed now to, based off the numbers and what we think and the belief in the brand and the belief in ourselves of where we can go. And I've got myself a couple of business partners. I don't know if they want me to say their names. I won't, but, we might get them on here a bit later. We've got a pretty good makeup of a team. We've got an accountant. We've got a really large-scale bricklayer and then a solicitor and then little old me. So fuck knows how I got my way into that scheme, but I did. I walked in and, I've managed to get myself aligned with some really good people I trust. And, now we actually own 9, man, across New South Wales. So they're rolling up at the moment. The aim is to have them all up by October 1. And if we get them there, then that's one goal achieved and see how we go through October to January and hopefully we can either turn 6 more around in Queensland. If you're watching Aaron and James, we'll go to Queensland, Adelaide.
I got Hamilton Island. Very cool with Hamilton Island. So yeah. I guess, bro, let's cover off the big bit, right? So let's talk a bit about what, right? So what was life growing up? And I'm gonna preface with some questions, and I just want you to run through. What was life like growing up for you? What did you take away from growing up, good and bad, that helped and didn't help? We're not going to talk yet about hindsight. I don't want you to tell me what you changed. Just tell me what the big lessons, good and bad, that you learned, the habits you learned, that advantage and disadvantage you, and yeah, let's go from there.
I grew up with a single mother with 3 little sisters, and I'm pretty close to my dad now, and he was always sort of involved, but it was me and mum and the girls growing up. That's how we grew up. My mum's sort of the one person in my life I've always admired, bro. Like she's had it pretty hard, and as much as she struggled, we never really seen it. Like we didn't have the best upbringing. Like it was a bit rough here and there, but we definitely didn't have the worst, and that was only because my mum went without, so we could, go with. Ultimately from there, I went to high school, played footy at school, and I was a footy player growing up. I loved me footy and loved me sport. I played cricket on the weekends as well, and I was a party boy, man. I You know, by the time I was 16, I was sneaking in the back of Customville Tavern. What used to happen is I used to tee up 4 or 5 other people at school and tell them I knew a back entrance. And I used to get one of my mates inside to open the back entrance, and I'd run in and tell everyone else to go first. They'd go, run in and get caught, and I'd hide straight in the toilets and get away with it. So I was a bit of a snitch. Used to get them caught, but I'd fucking tee them up. I'd say, listen, party first, party, blah, blah, you don't need a fake ID, let's go. And they'd go in, and I'd go straight in the bathroom, bro, and I'd see them outside later waiting for me, and I'd party, and they'd not, but I still got the party, bro. Used to crawl back in the bed at like 5. I was still at school. I used to get home my mum was pretty good, man. I used to get home like 4:35 in the morning, and mum would be like going to school. But
it shows. It shows.
Yeah. Sometimes it does show. Sometimes it does show, bro. Look, I had a pretty good life growing up. You know, money wise, and when we talk about it, stuff like that. You know, my mum doesn't own anything, man. My mum's never owned a house. My dad was quite lucky, or unlucky and lucky at the same time. My dad had a pallet fall on him at work, and he got a payout, and he bought a house. And I've been pretty lucky in that sense too. My dad handed it over to me and gave me a bit of equity behind me and a bit of, a bit of help. But as a kid, man, I could never, like 10, 15 years ago, I could never see myself here now because I was a menace to society. I blatantly had a problem with authority.
And why do you think that is? What do you, like, growing up? I'm not a psychologist. Fuck, you just stop sounding like a psychologist. Well, what things growing up, like, why did you go that way? And then tell us what changed you.
Well, to be honest, man, I think as a kid, you don't get a choice as to who your mates are. You gravitate towards people at 7, 8, 9 years old. You don't know where your life leads from there. And growing up in the west of Sydney, and, you know, like, obviously I said 7 years, like, I went to a public school called Matella Road. I've still got my friends today from that public school, man, like a tight-knit circle of mates. And, you know, we grew up, there was crime around, there was we were naughty. I'm not going to get into that either, but we fucked around and we...
Well, you already said you're a snitch.
Yeah, I'm not going to snitch on myself. I'll snitch on other people, man.
We'll cut that clean.
Nah, look, bro, I don't know. What do you want? Ask the question again.
I was saying, so what, you were naughty, right? You were naughty and then you were whatever.
Well,
and you've gotten here. So what sent you naughty, right? What was obviously growing up the West, you're naughty, right? But rebellious, whatever. What do you think it was that made you naughty? But then what was it that made you, well, actually, no, let's go. When did you make the switch? When did you make the change? I
was pretty lucky because I didn't go to school, bro. Like, I did, but I wagged whatever class I wanted to wag. I never went. But
bro, this is supposed to be for the youngins. Doing
nothing. but they're gonna learn, bro. Like, I aced my year 10. I didn't show up and I aced it, but to me, that's all I needed to do. And still to this day, I don't know. I don't know about school. Certain things about school you got to know, man. Certain things about school you got to know. Certain people in different parts of the school got to know something. But, like, we never get taught how to fund our money at school, man. We never get... Why do you reckon it takes people from 15 to 30 to meet a person like you before they figure out their money? Where the fuck's the finance at school? Like,
yeah, but you got an argument with that. Do you reckon we would have listened? I wouldn't have.
Nah, well, yeah, but that's what we're here for, right?
That's right. So, I mean, everyone says we should be taught this in school. You reckon someone telling you about superannuation? Most of you motherfuckers won't listen about superannuation now, let alone when you're 16.
Nah, but I just...
Come at me with that bullshit.
I still think to an extent there are certain things in the school, and we're probably not going to agree on this, but there's certain things in the school system. Algebra, you got to fucking know. I don't care what X plus Y equals Z, you have to know, right? Especially if you're
problem solving.
Especially if you're a plasterer, bro. You figure that.
I reckon that shit. Everyone says there's no application, but it's problem solving.
Yeah.
But there's heaps of shit in this. You know what should be taught at school? Barefoot investor. That's the shit. So all you barefoot investor, you're at school level finance. Remember that. But that's what should be taught at school.
I'm a barefoot investor, Reader. I like that book.
Until you remember, I like it too. But when you're at the basics.
No. So where it changed for me, I was never without money, and I was never without knowledge of how to run a business. I was quite good at running the business. I just didn't know how to go that extra step. So I was at a level where I was higher than most, lower than the best. And I needed to change that, and I didn't know what it was that could change it. So what I started doing, this is probably 5 or 6 years ago, I lost a bit of money. I had, to be fair, the one thing I can look back on that changed my mindset to become a better person was I got ripped off about $100K from a builder. He went insolvent, and his solicitor sent me a letter saying he'd pay 10 cents in the dollar, and I wanted to kill him. Like, I couldn't, for the life of me, man, I just wanted this bloke. I was like, how can you do that? Sent me into, back then, I didn't know what it was. I look back at it now, and I think that's the closest, and I don't play with this word because I don't really know, but I was never diagnosed, but that's the closest thing I've ever felt to what I thought was depression or something. She was sheltered for 3 to 4 months. I wouldn't let anyone in. I couldn't talk to anyone about it, and I couldn't get out of bed to go to work. And I was never one of those people to not go to work. I work. Like, I'd never let anyone down, except Azza. But yeah, like for myself, I went to work, bro. I went, and this sort of 3 or 4 month period, it just got the better of me, and then had a breakup. And after the breakup, I thought I needed to become a better person. I'm not a good person. I've got good traits. I've got bad traits as well, but I've got good traits. I was brought up the right way to respect people and to do certain things, but there was lots about me that wasn't good, and I was like, I need to fix that. Like, morally, I needed to fix where I was at in my head. I needed to get an understanding of where I wanted to be in life, and I wanted to stop hurting other people and being selfish, and I wanted to gauge. 5 months after this happened, I met B, who's now my wife, and by the time I'd met her, although there was still a bit of time to go to fix myself. By the time I'd met her, I was in the right direction to fix myself. I'd got over the fact that I'd been ripped off. I wasn't bitter anymore. I'm still a little bit bitter now, but I wasn't as bitter anymore. Like, it
fucking brings it up every day.
Yeah, nah, it's hard, man. It's hard. But yeah, so I met B.
So hang on. So let's put time frames, because there's going to be young kids watching this, and that's only happened recently, right? So there's going to be young kids like 22, 23 that we're trying to target. They're going to be going, fuck, like they think they're behind the 8 ball. So let's.
Yeah, they're behind the kids. Don't listen to that, kids.
Yeah, so let's say, my perception of you too, right, which is very important. We've got earners and managers in the world. So you're a great earner, fucking gun earner. Like, you're a classic earner. You go out there and a lot of the people from the West can find money anywhere. We had to learn. I shouldn't say we, because I not so much till my later years, but you find money anywhere, and you take that trade into your adulthood. And I can notice with you, like, you had no issue ever earning money, but probably until, 2 years ago, a year ago maybe?
Until my son was born.
Which is 2?
When I met you, my son was probably 3 months old. That's when we first had the chat about it.
So 2 years, and you had, and so just as a thing, like, this is what the big lesson that I think Acko will go on about is, everyone thinks that earning money is the issue. You got to earn it. You had no issue ever earning money. The day your life changed for the better was when you started thinking about managing it better.
Yeah, I snitching on myself. At school, I went to a school, and there was a shop right next door. There was a couple of us that used to do this, but this is legit. This is dead set true. It used to be $80 for a carton of cigarettes, right? They were $10 a pack, 25 cigarettes in a pack. I just sold 200 cigarettes in a day at school for $1 each. I used to turn 80 into $200 a day, and that was legit. Like, from Monday to Friday, fucking no dramas in the world. I'd sell them to adults. Like, I could always make, bro, but that's 120 profit a day at 14 or 15. Never saved the
people aren't making that now.
Yeah, they're not. You can't make that at Macca's, bro. But that's not to say that's the right way to go. Like, I hope to God my son never sells cigarettes at school.
Oh, but
it taught me a valuable lesson. Like, I went to a job in a factory. I hated it, right? I even made up a story that I went to the army just so I could leave, because all my mates were on school holidays. But come Christmas, I told my mum I'd sign up to the army, but it didn't start till February. So all my mates finished, like, I left school year 11. A lot of my mates are still at school. All my mates were finishing up for Christmas holidays. I told Mum, I've left this job. I'm going to the army in February. I didn't go. I just went on holidays. Right? When I went back. The
army is a holiday, promise you.
I went back to this job, and it was I was a fitter and turner, and I hated it, right? But I was on $550 a week, and there was a heap of dopes. There was a heap of fucking spastics working there, but legit. And I used to raffle off my wage, right, to make $1,000. I'll just sell enough tickets to make $1,000 out of the $550. That's legit. Like, well, I read about a dude. It wasn't my idea. I read about this dude that got pinched doing it, and I was like, fuck, that's a good idea. These people are dumb as sold tickets for $10 each. All I had to do was sell 100 tickets, but it was $1,000. No dramas. Across a factory like that, to sell 100 tickets to take you an hour, but I'd pull $1,000 into my pocket, no dramas. But
That's genius. That's fucking genius. Like that's. I didn't know that. Let's do that now.
Yeah. So I mean, and like I'll be fair. I read that. I read that this dude done it, and I was like, if you could scale that, that'd work. And I was 18 at this, 17, 16.
It's how raffles work, though. Really.
That's right. Yeah. So someone makes money and someone loses money. The person that gets the 550 in, they think they're winning. I'm winning. That's how
all that tape putting other people's money in your pocket, eh?
Bro, and to be honest, these idiots, they never even check, bro. I didn't. I could have raffled that 550 to me every time. They wouldn't have known a ticket, bro. They never asked who won. They never done nothing. They were that stupid. They were just happy to give their money away. Now, that was a big learning curve for me. The lottery. Well, I was a gambler. I was a big gambler. That's where I lost a lot of my money, man. I was a big gambler, right? But I didn't gamble to win. But I didn't know this then.
You gamble to gamble?
I gambled to gamble, man. Yeah. I gambled to gamble. Like, I could have a big weekend, like on the tools, head into the Star on a Sunday to watch UFC or something, have 2, 3, 4 grand, $1,000 in the bank. No, and for a business owner, that's not a lot of money. You got to have 50K in there, but I have 4 grand in my pocket, 1,000 in the bank, and I borrow money for a cab home, bust me ass Monday going back to work, and then Monday night do a cash job, so I had money. It was just the way it was until probably 2 or 3 years ago, man. And this is the thing that we talk about, and like, I'm not going to go into the hindsight yet because I know you're going to do it, but this is the thing where I think about it quite often is, but don't get me wrong, I don't ponder on it, but fuck, what if? Like, what if I started 6 years ago? What if I had the mindset I do now? Then where do I end up? I met you 2.5 years ago. What did I own when I met you?
Sparkling white.
One sparkling white.
One sparkling white.
Like, we're 2.5 years on, and you know, I'm in lifestyle-wise, I'm in a much better position. Mindset-wise, I'm in a better position. I've got more money. I've got a share of 9 businesses. Sparkling white's gone. But at the same time, I've never been in this headspace.
Yeah, but your prospects are better too. Like, when we met, you had Sparkling White, but your track was here and you were here. Now, you've got, probably on paper, you've got less. Like, you got words-wise more, but Sparkling White at the time was doing more than what these are doing now because it's early days.
Oh, yeah, because they're not open.
That's right. But immediately, from that transition and from what we've done, you're on track, but you know, you got a salary and it's like the company provides good stuff for you now. Like, you're fully on track. Whereas Sparkling White, you were still off.
Yeah, and I felt like I was on, and that's the part too where I keep talking about learning and this is the thing, like, you're starting a podcast now, people go, what the fuck do they know? I get that. I understand that. And by no means are we...
I don't know fuck all about a lot of things, but I know a lot about some things.
But, you know, like we're both in a position now where we go, like, we're starting something like this because we feel like we're doing good in life. Like, between us, we can look at each other and go, yep, he's successful enough to do this, and we both know enough about a little bit to do it, or a lot about a little bit.
But I think we need to make it clear that our mindset, like my mindset shifted and I shifted yours and we're shifting everyone's, in that people got to stop thinking who's got more shit is doing better.
Yeah.
I've got so many clients. What changed my life is I've got so many clients that have a lot of shit and they're doing terribly. The whole reason we called this the Wealth Cartel is because we're looking for the definition of wealth, and we may not have as much money or earn as much, do as much as others, or even that we've done in the past. I gave up a $250K a year salary to come start my business, and I am way more wealthy now than I was doing that.
Yeah, agreed, bro.
And that's what we're trying to push. We're trying to push what wealth is, and it's that triangle of how do you achieve happiness, and it's not just money, it's a balance between money, health, and living the life. And
yeah, man, I think I've told you this before too. I tell me missus every time we go to the airport, like, we travel a bit, you know, we do our best to get around, and every single time I go to the airport, I go, I'm getting that Rolex. And it's been ages, but like, I've been probably talking about this shit since I was 20. I can get the Rolex, right? Not because I'm cashed, but because I've managed my money where if I chose to get that Rolex, I can now afford it.
And you can. And you know that I don't mind you getting the Rolex.
The Rolex, I think what I've learned is the Rolex was never the goal.
The status.
It was the status, right? But once I got to, and 2 years ago, if I had this money, I would have bought it. But to be honest, like, I got to the stage, I was like, the Rolex is the goal. The Rolex is the goal. You get to the Rolex and you're like, oh. And
fuck. We know someone who's done this bigger, don't we? We'll get him on here.
You know what I mean? We'll get him on here.
You fucking king.
Yeah.
King of this.
So and that's a situation, bro. Like we go up and now
once you reach the status, you don't need the
I don't
symbol.
want it, bro. Don't get me wrong. Fuck. No, I don't want the status. I don't want it. I don't want no one to know.
Yeah.
I'll tell these people.
You don't want the symbol.
I fucking don't want the symbol, bro. With the symbol comes that wanker card, and I couldn't care if I really wanted the Rolex. I couldn't give a fuck about what people think of me. I don't care.
But it's not big enough now.
It's just not the. It's nah. And like what I'm gonna I earned 15, 20 grand aside, and I'll buy a watch. Fuck that. The status, like the symbol, is not the Rolex. It was the growth. Like that's what I wanted to be able to afford it.
But it's about the way up, bro. Like 20 grand rolling. I'll make it clear. I have no objections to nice cars. I love watches. Nice shit. But it's about priorities. And this is what people think. They think no one should buy the Rolex. No one should buy the Ferrari. Look, if it's a priority in your life and you know that what you're going to miss out on is worth it for getting that thing, fucking go for it. But when you look at a 20 grand Rollie, and you know that, fuck, I could pump that into, that could be a fucking month holiday for your whole family.
Well, the part that I'm looking at now is like the holidays for us, we got a separate savings account for the holiday.
Wonder who set that up.
But we now, and like I've got probably 6 accounts where I put different money into to ensure that I can manage it, right? But I don't.
We'll talk about that.
Like, fuck the Rollie.
But so for me, you found it was not for you.
But like, if I got 20K, like for me, and I'll be honest with me now, bro. If I got 20K there and there's a way to make 40 out of 20, I'm not fuck that Rolex. But who fucking knows? Like after the Rollie, maybe maybe once I've got 100 to spend, I'll get there. Like maybe I'll get it. But it's just not the symbol anymore. I want to be. Hey, hang on a second.
You grew up, you earned good money till late 20s, but you didn't capitalize on it till late 20s. It was probably your late 20s before you turned around and actually started capitalizing on your money. Before that, doesn't matter how much money you earned in a year, it only lasted you that year. It didn't do nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and like don't get me wrong, a holiday than that, but yeah.
And that's experience. But imagine how well you'd be doing, and this is the thing we talk to the kids, out of all that money you earn, if each year you would just put away 10K a year. 10K a year, $200 a week.
$200 a week, yeah. So that's a big thing. Like we try and monitor now, just in savings wise. Like if you get paid $1,100 a week, say, what's the average wage? $800.
$1,000.
$1,000, $50K a year, right? So out of $1,000, when you're single, so this is
living at home.
Well, this is the thing with me, right? When I was single, I always lived by myself. I couldn't live with fuckers. I didn't share houses, right?
Yeah.
So out of my $1,000, I'd have the best unit in Blacktown. Yeah, they weren't the best, but they were fucking expensive, right? But I'd spend $500. So 50% out of my wage would go on my rent, and I never missed a payment. I didn't miss payments, right? But at the time, I had a loan, and this is something I'd love to fucking get off my chest too. I walked into a bank at 18 with 3 weeks experience as a sole trader. And they fucking threw 25K at me and walked out. Imagine going into a bank trying to get 25K now. You can't do it. And like, I'm not that old. You know what I mean? Like 13 years ago, you could walk into, I swear to you, I walked into the Commonwealth Bank at 7 Hills. I walked out with 25K in my bank.
Bro, you could walk in and get a loan that was $600 a week repayments on $700 a week.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So like, I got to that stage and I was paying it all back, but out of my
watch all the youngins going, fuck, I wish that was the case now. No, you don't.
No, you don't, bro.
No, you don't. Wake the fuck up.
That was half the issue with why it took so long for me to get my head right. Like I dodged and fucking ducked these debt collectors, man, for
Live
5 or 6
today, pay
years.
Tomorrow.
Well, I didn't answer a private number on my phone for 5 years. When I got with my missus, I'd sorted my life out, right? And my missus used to not do it, and I was like, fucking answer that phone. And she's like, I don't know who it is. I go, just pay him. Tell me what it is. We'll pay it. Because my whole, and that's probably a big shift as well, bro, was like, I got over that hurdle. I remember someone saying to me, I can't remember who it was. I will remember one day, but they said to me, your stress is not from the money owed, it's from not fucking fronting up and dealing with it, right? So I rang him the next day and I was like, I want to pay my loan back. And I remember them saying, yeah, cool, we'll put you on a payment plan. I remember like, what the fuck? I didn't think I could do that. But that's not to say to do that, but I'm just mean like, I got myself into a spot, man. From 21 to 26, I didn't pay a cent on that.
Fines, tax, big one on the whole thing, bro.
It was
Afterpay's a big one now.
Yeah, Afterpay's bad for the girls, bro. Like Like for me now too, like I think you're very similar to me in this. If I don't have it, I ain't spend. Like I'll spend a fuckload of money, right? But it's mine. I spend my cash. I don't have a credit card.
I have a credit card, but I use it very well.
I had a credit card with businesses, and I had an Amex, right? So with the Amex, with the Express points, like what I used to do was, whatever the business brought in, I would because with your Amex, you can even pay staff if they're contractors, so you can pay wages, right? So I'd accumulate points and pay points, but. This is obviously getting off a little bit of topic, but in regards to that, I fucking hate credit cards.
I love them. If you can do them right, I love them. I make about $3,000 a year for my credit card. Yeah, but I'm a weapon.
So, but if you were 20 years old,
no, not at all. But it's about structure and then making it right. So none of my clients when we start we do that. But this is what I mean. You get the people that go, credit cards are bad. No, credit cards are bad for you.
Yeah.
Right. But this is what I mean. We got to cut away. But what I want to get at this as well is cutting away. This cookie cutter. Everyone should buy a home. Everyone should buy shares. Rolexes are bad for everyone. They're not. We've got to start looking at everyone individually and what your goals are because that's how things need to be rolled. That's where we fucked up along the way. We told everyone that one shoe fits all and it doesn't.
I think that's the biggest issue with the old, like there's a new generation every generation, right? Obviously there's Y, there's X, there's all these fucking shit. The problem is everyone's talking, in my opinion, like everyone talked to me like it was a broad spectrum. I didn't want the fucking same thing everyone else wanted. I didn't want the same shit you want. I want the same shit you got now because in my mind, I get it. But back then, no one sat down and give me this is what you fucking should do. This is what's going to happen in hindsight.
And that's what we're going to get at people, bro, because I think, especially in my industry, no one young comes and sees me. A few do. I've got some of my best clients are young because they've just, and I get excited because they're 21, 22, yeah, fuck, I can do it.
They listen, mate?
Yeah, I can do anything with you. But they're the other way. They're the savers. They don't want to spend money. I have to make them spend money, right? But it's good because I'll force you because in 10 years you'll be a millionaire easy. But that's the thing. They think, being good with money means I have to save. I have to pay this. Where what we did and what I'm trying to do to everyone is, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Do you want to go live on a beach in Bali? Let's fucking do it.
Yeah,
let's figure out how much that costs. But anyway, we're getting off track. So. We talked about when, so like I said, late 20s and why. You talked, let's talk more about why. Why did you make the change? What switched you?
I looked at myself, and it wasn't in the mirror. It wasn't cliche. I didn't wake up one day, look at myself in the mirror and go, you're a fuckwit. But over a period of time, I looked at myself and I was like, you're not the cunt you thought you were going to be. Everyone to me, when I was younger, I was quite a clever person, and like my mum always said, you should be an accountant. Fuck that, Carter. Fuck that. Like, I don't want to be an accountant. I'm not that person.
Carter doesn't want to be an accountant.
You're not during these months, he's busy, bro. And the financials. But look, the reason why I changed is I didn't like myself anymore, bro. I didn't like who I was, and
we're getting deep, bro.
Yeah, well, but that's the truth, bro. Like that's and I met my missus, and when I met my missus, I liked myself, right? I thought I'd changed, and I think I'd told myself I'd changed, but I look back at it now, and I was like, oh fuck you, how the fuck did she stick around? Well, she stuck around because we fell pregnant, and like that's the honest truth. Like
entrapment,
yeah. Like my missus had every right to leave me early on, not because I did anything real dirty. I just wasn't as good a person as I was.
So Gemma, shout out to the real ones out there.
Shout out to the girls. And if if you don't shout your girl out, you're not a fucking real one, to be honest. But look, bro,
unless she's a gronk.
my missus, like we grew up a lot together. Like even though I was my missus is quite young, a lot younger than me. I like it. I'll trade her in at 32 or 33.
I said that, Gemma. Dad's had 4 wives, right? I said, Gemma, you're wife number 1.
No, I'll never get married again. Nah, but man, it switched for me. I had my little boy, right? And I don't want my boy to grow up in a broken home. I don't want my kids to grow up in a broken home, man. And like we are talking about it got deep, but like for me, so. I got my dad, but I was raised by a stepdad, right? And when I met Bianca, my little sister, who's the most straight up fucking person you'll ever meet, she wouldn't speak to B, period, because she openly said to me, "You're gonna fucking hurt those kids. How dare you do that?" This is previous to me. I didn't do shit wrong. I fucking took 2 kids on that weren't mine, and now they're mine, but then they weren't, and like everyone was like, "What the fuck?" And I pretty much said to my sister, "Fuck you. Like I'll prove you wrong." But everything sort of in that sense worked out in its way.
I can look after him as long as it's between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m.
Yeah, as long as I don't, yeah. I don't know, but so for me, that's where it changed. I looked at a couple of kids that, they had their mum that loved them and not their dad, and I was raised by a stepdad, and suddenly things started making sense to me, and where I was and who I was and what I'd done started making a bit of sense to me. So that's the simple question. The simple answer is I changed because I had kids and I had people relying on me. And previous, I didn't care about myself enough to change for it. I knew what I was doing wrong. I was not a fucking silly person. I was smart enough to understand I was doing it wrong. But until there was people relying on me, I didn't have to change. I think that's the situation now, and I just won't let them down.
Talk about why you made the switch. You know, you fucking misses, family, this, that, and that. How did you do it? What was the steps you took to make? Because it's all well and good to know shit, but taking action is the hardest part. It's the only thing that's important. So what did you do? How did you do it?
I outsourced anything I wasn't a professional at, like taxes. I always done my own tax. Always managed my own finances. I fucking
terribly.
Yeah, but like I did, like I what I started doing, I implemented this system where I put this system in it sounds great. It doesn't always work, but this is what I implemented. So if what I felt like, I hired a bloke to mow my lawns, right? If he charged me $55 to mow my lawns, what I tried to do was spend that time he was mowing the lawns doing something I fucking hated, earning more money than he'd charged me. That was the way I started.
I think that's important though, because a lot of people do this shit and then they sit on the couch and watch Netflix. You gotta, like, there's a big fallacy between people going, I pay someone to mow my lawns because I can earn more. But if you're not earning more in that time, there's no fucking point.
Yeah. So what I did, so I actually
unless you can do valuable shit like spend time with your family, it's worth it.
Yeah. But see, I done this before I knew anyone else was doing this. So it's important for me. Someone said to me one day, and I remember this forever, they said to me, you can't buy time. And I remember thinking, fucking oath you can.
But you can manage it.
I remember thinking you can buy it. So for me, like, your whole life people tell you can't buy time, right? Always. Like, it's a saying. Like, it's literally fucking a meme. You can't buy time. But you can buy someone to do something you need to do.
Can you buy time or can you spend time?
No, you buy time, bro.
I think you can spend time.
You buy. So say for instance with you, right? You look after my finances. I pay you to do something I have no idea about.
You don't pay me shit.
I don't pay him. And I'm not paying him.
Fuck this guy.
Nothing.
Carter will sort something.
You get what I mean? So in Carter, like, I done my tax for ages. I went to see Carter. I was like, what the fuck have I been doing? But not to say that I hate doing these things, but I'm wasting my fucking time.
How did you change that mindset? Because the big thing is people.
I read.
But people run a cost mindset. What's the cheapest way to do it? They don't run a value mindset. You know what I mean? And
well, you said earlier on, I've always been a maker, right? I always spent all my cash. Now, what I realized within myself was it didn't matter what I was spending it on. And this is something fucking I only learned probably 18 months ago. I needed to spend money, and I don't know what it is. It's like a subconscious thing. If I'm earning it, I've got to spend it to feel right. I always used to think that I had to spend it on gangster shit. I had to spend it on, I fucking buy heaps of shoes, bro. I'm a dick. But right now, right, so what I do with my money right now and the way I come about it is I support people I believe in. So I get Three Kings to do my finance. I get Carter's tax advisor to do my tax. I get Corey Lowe, who's a good mate of mine, to do my home loans. I don't buy Ralph Lauren and Hilfiger anymore. I've still got it, but I buy G'd Up because I believe.
G'd Up. Shout out G'd Up.
You know what I mean? I wear G'd Up because I know the owner. I believe in him. I'm the same. Anything I invest anything into now, I've got to believe it. And for me, that's how I changed. I started changing because it wasn't about me anymore. It wasn't about the concept of.
But why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? You spent your time, which you can't get back, to earn that money that you're spending. I don't understand why people don't see that. You know, you don't just get money. You trade something for money.
Yeah.
Right? Unless you're fucking passive income, but you're trading something for money.
Passive income comes later, right?
Comes later.
Everyone talks about passive income like it's a fucking, like you can wake up one day, buy a business and have passive income. It's a load of shit.
You're compounding at the start end to capitalize later.
Yeah.
You're just getting back that extra time you put in, the 16-hour day.
Yeah. And when we say how, I went to a seminar. It was a Gary Vee one. I went to a seminar, Gary Vee, Grant Cardone. There's a couple of dudes involved in it. It was a fucking, it was a cop-out, to be honest.
1 out of 2 is good there.
Yeah.
Grant Cardone, you watch this, you're a flop. Flop.
Look,
Gary Vee, you're right, I like it.
On the day, it was the vibe more than Grant Cardone throws a good vibe, right?
He's a salesman.
He's a fucking good salesman. But hey, we know a lot of salesmen around here, right?
Yeah.
There's just a thing where with me, how I changed was I figured out I'm not a dumb cunt. I for a long time, I treated my own self like I didn't respect my mind. I didn't respect what I knew or what I thought was right. So my gut instinct, if I literally had have acted on gut instincts alone over 5 or 6 years, I fucking never would have lost money, bro. Never. Not once. I lost money a couple of times, but had I have backed myself instead of being the good guy and instead of trying to follow follow protocol as to business in regards to who you get in bed with, had I have followed my gut instinct, I never would have lost cash.
But do you reckon that come from a period of where you were too cocky, too confident?
Yeah.
You were like this. So me personally, I was so self-insured. I'm a gun. Something happened, killed it, and then I lost that.
I thought it didn't matter what it was, I could make it work.
But I went from this. So this is where I think I didn't know you this stage, but this is what I'm thinking. I went from so self-insured, and the day I looked at myself and went, what do you got? You think you're king shit, you got nothing. You earn good money, you got all the best clothes, you got the Louis Sunnies, all the shit. I still got the Louis Sunnies. But all this shit, and I went, but what do you got? And that's where I lost my confidence. And then my gut instincts lost from there. Did something like that for you?
Yeah. I think it happened a couple of times to me. It was never really one moment where it happened and I was like, what the fuck have you got? It was more so like there was leading events where I got an uncle in my family who's quite successful. He's a fucking good dude. He was someone I looked up to a lot of the time. Lived in Queensland. And what happened with me was I never wanted to trust a woman, right? I never wanted a woman to be able to take me for half of what I got. But my thing was, for me, my uncle got robbed, right? I'm not going to go into it, but he got robbed. I was like, fuck this. No woman's ever going to take that. What the fuck do you got for her to take? And that was like, when I got with my missus, my mindset was like, I was always trying to worry about like what she can take for what. But I had nothing, man. I had
Can't
nothing.
take half of nothing.
Well, you can't. You can take half the debt.
Yeah.
You know, but like
that's not bad.
and for me, like my missus knows this. She used to say to me, "Fuck, you don't trust me, or what's your worry? Like you think I'm going to take everything from you?" But I'd had people take shit from me before, so I was worried, right? And I was like, this is one thing I actually do have a reminiscing moment of this. So we were arguing about not arguing, debating about something. And I said to her, if we ever split up, you don't get fucking none of this. And she goes, I don't fucking want it. And then she left in the car. And I sat there and I was like, what the fuck have you got? I had nothing, but because I worked so hard to have nothing, and I worked so hard, I felt so entitled to everything I didn't have. And I was like, "Well, you need to sort this shit out. You need, you know what, bro? You need if you're going to have this fucking argument, have the argument not based off of the fact that you're a baller. Don't have the argument based off of the fact you got fucking nothing, and you're belittling the person you love based off of pride. Yeah. You're fuck like what would happen is I'd feel proud of everything I'd worked for, but I'd feel diminished because I didn't have nothing, and then I'd blame her for that.
But you had the persona, and this when we talk about being an earner, you had the persona. You could walk into any interview, get any job. You were so confident that you had the persona of someone who had anything. The day I had the same thing, and the day that happened to me is I went, somebody outdid me. Like I was the number one in every room. I walk into any room, I was the guy. Right? I was the guy. I could control any room. I thought, yeah, I'm king. And people always tell me, people blow smoke up my ass all the time.
Yeah, I'm the same. Same right? Shit, same shit.
But then the day that happened is the day I realized I went, bro, you know shit. You don't know anything. You don't know what you don't know. And there was so much I didn't know.
Yeah.
And that's why I had nothing. I thought what I was doing was king. And then I met someone who was actually king.
Well, I've met probably 10 people like that in 2 years. Yeah. I've met, fuck it. I was the same, bro. My whole life. I was, the life of the party.
So take away from this, the sooner you motherfuckers realize you ain't shit, the sooner that you get on track.
Well, the sooner you back yourself into a situation where you don't need to be something.
The sooner you learn to know. The sooner you realize you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And you start trying to figure out how to know.
Yeah. There's going to be a day in anyone's life where you're going to get beat. In a fight, in business, there's going to be a day, right?
I don't have fights. I'm not a fighter.
But in any sense like that,
I'll get pissed again.
There's going to be a day, right? Now, for me, growing up, I've been beating fights. I've been beating business before. But when it comes to holding a room, when it comes to being the life of the party, the class clown, that was me. And fucking for the life of me, I was always the wittiest cunt in the room. And that's
not in this room.
No, I got you, cunt. No, he was all right the first time we met. Now I got him. I stole his ideas and beat him with them. Nah, look,